The dollar has sunk to new lows. Over the past year, it has fallen by 10%. In fact, this week, the US dollar recorded its sharpest one-day drop. It fell to a 4-year low. This is against a basket of global currencies. We're talking about the global peers of the US dollar, like the euro, the Japanese yen, the British pound, the Canadian dollar, the Swedish krona, and the Swiss franc. The US dollar is getting weaker against these currencies, and the US president was asked about this. But he tried to brush off concerns. Donald Trump said a weaker currency was actually, and I'm quoting, great. Listen to this.
Well, Mr. President, with the current value of the dollar, do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar, look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great.
You want to see it decline?
You know, it's very interesting. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. But they always fought, no, our dollar's very good.
Trump built his entire political campaign on the promise of a strong America in every aspect. But now he says a weaker dollar is actually great. It's classic Trump. He's trying to spin this in his favor, but investors are not buying this line. Today, the US dollar showed fresh signs of weakness. One expert called it a falling chainsaw. And the dollar is only one front where Washington's weakness is showing. Pressure is building over Trump's immigration policies as well. The crackdowns by ICE have boomeranged on the president. ICE, as you know, is the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They have been cracking down on immigrants whom they call illegal aliens. The crackdown has been especially brutal in the state of Minnesota. ICE agents shot dead 2 American citizens in separate incidents and detained many children. This triggered a severe backlash. It got so bad that now the US president is rolling back his campaign. President Trump gave an interview. He called the incidents in Minnesota terrible. This was followed by an announcement where Trump said he would de-escalate a little bit in Minnesota.
We're going to de-escalate a little bit, but I will tell you, you look at the numbers, they're doing better than they've done in many years.
Trump may want to spin his campaign as a success, but on the ground there's a lot of anger, both among lawmakers and the civil society. In fact, some of Trump's biggest backers are also speaking out, like Apple CEO Tim Cook. He sent a memo to his employees. Tim Cook wrote that he was, and I'm quoting, he was heartbroken by the death of American citizens at the hands of ICE agents.
Is America officially broke? The world's biggest superpower is drowning in $34 trillion of debt. Let me explain how bad this is. If you spent $1 million every single day since Jesus was born, you still wouldn't have spent $1 trillion. America owes 34 times that amount. Every citizen, including this baby born today, owes $100,000 to the government. So how do they pay it? They don't. They just print more money. It's a Ponzi scheme. The more they print, the less your money is worth. Other countries are watching. China and Russia are dumping the dollar. The king is falling. Do you trust the US dollar with your savings? Tell me in the comments.
The dollar just crashed to a 4-year low. And President Trump's response?
No, dollar's doing great.
That's not denial, that's the plan. His comments fueled the dollar's deepest drop since his tariff rollout. Trump wants a weaker dollar. But why? Well, it makes US exports cheaper and foreign goods more expensive. That helps manufacturing and boosts American sales abroad. And he's got the numbers on his side. The dollar's overvalued against nearly every major currency. The yen and the euro are particularly low levels, giving foreign exporters an edge. But a weaker dollar cuts both ways. It might help exports, but it scares off investors. Trump's attacks on the Federal Reserve and threats to allies are cracking confidence. When markets sense instability, money moves. Then there's the $40 trillion US debt. A falling dollar risks higher inflation and borrowing costs, making that mountain of debt even harder to manage. Some analysts say the dollar's decline is just beginning, and Trump, he's not standing in its way.
What's going on with the US dollar? It's having its worst year in decades. It's down 14% compared to other currencies. We're facing a classic currency devaluation similar to what we saw in the 1930s and the 1970s. Currencies all around the world went down together, but they fell much more against hard assets like gold. And that's exactly what's happening now. The dollar's down 45% compared to gold this year. And Bitcoin, digital gold, is also at all-time highs. The pattern is repeating. So why is the dollar being devalued? There's tariffs, sanctions, trade wars, and money printing, but the real problem is debt. And to finance that debt, the US issues treasury bonds. But if rates aren't attractive, investors won't buy these bonds. The US is kind of caught in a trap. If you keep rates high, home prices become unaffordable and interest on the debt explodes. But if you cut rates, the dollar weakens further and inflation comes roaring back. And the numbers don't lie. The dollar's down to 42% of global reserves, down from 70%. And look what's rising, gold. As money flows into gold, that weakens the dollar further. Could the dollar lose its reserve currency status? History says every reserve currency eventually fails. Just like the British pound and Dutch guilder, the dollar could be next. What do you think?
Although the US dollar has traditionally been viewed as a safe haven currency, it has fallen by around 10% over the past year. This is due to several reasons, including volatile policies by the US administration, escalating global tensions, and growing pressure on the independence of the Federal Reserve. But what does a weaker dollar mean in practical terms? For the US economy, a weaker dollar makes American exports cheaper and more competitive, but it also raises the cost of imports, potentially increasing inflationary pressures within the United States. For global markets, a weaker dollar reduces the appeal of dollar-denominated assets, prompting some investors to cut their exposure to the US currency or hedge against it. For gold, as the dollar declines, gold becomes cheaper for buyers outside the United States, boosting demand and pushing prices to record levels, as seen recently. What about the Federal Reserve? Attention is focused on interest rates, with expectations that the Fed will keep them unchanged for now. Any leniency in confronting inflation could further weaken the dollar and increase the US government's borrowing costs, an outcome that continues to worry markets. The decline of the dollar does not signal its collapse, but rather reflects a sensitive phase in global markets, driving investors toward gold as they await monetary policy decisions and upcoming political developments.
The global financial earthquake nobody's talking about. The dollar is being dumped worldwide. April 2025 saw a shocking 4.9% dollar decline, now 7.3% below January's peak. What's causing this? It's not just economics, it's trust. Despite rising interest rates, the dollar keeps falling, breaking all normal patterns. China and Russia are now trading oil in yuan. Saudi Arabia's exploring alternatives. Central banks, everywhere, are slashing dollar reserves and hoarding gold instead. The Fed's Beige Book mentioned tariffs 107 times, with economic growth stalling in most regions. Foreign investors are fleeing, creating a perfect storm for financing America's massive deficit. When those dumped dollars flood back home, we'll face inflation not seen since World War II. The post-dollar world isn't coming. It's already here.